In this video, we're going to look at all the decisions I made, the mistakes, what are the lessons I learned so far, what could have been done different in this year as I was building my startup, Agam Robotics, so that you don't have to make that mistake again. Watch until end of the video for all the decisions and lessons I made. So without further ado, let's get started. What's up everyone, hope you guys doing well. Come for the drones and stay for the startup lessons. My name is Karthik Rangarajan, founder and CEO of Agam Robotics. We are developing drone components like flight controllers, autopilots, sensor systems for consumer as well as industrial sector. The first thing I wanted to discuss in this video was the delay. The delay in manufacturing in India versus outside. This is one of the major reasons for the entire delay of product release. It took 6 months and more than 50 manufacturers to identify capable manufacturers in India meeting the requirements I was looking for. Most were excessively overpriced for prototyping, ranging from 3 to 5 times the cost. Eventually, I chose a company with relatively fair cost, although still expensive. There is still an uncertainty about maintaining the reasonable price during mass production. This is going to be a huge challenge for 2024. I feel like it would have been cheaper if I had it produced in China. But on the upside, I feel like I've sorted out all the manufacturing issues, component sourcing, and all the other aspects of manufacturing locally. And then importing of assembled PCBs could have also caused issues at the customs. Some have said they had issues and some said they didn't, but it's more like a gamble. In addition to these, the most important thing I had to mention is I did get some requests from companies outside of India who were looking for non-Chinese made autopilots or flight controllers. So I guess getting it manufactured in India is going to be so much more helpful. What is the lesson here? Look what and who you're serving, your pricing, what is your timeline for product release, and plan accordingly. Always keep a buffer of time and money. The next one is the chip shortages. I just cannot stop talking about chip shortages and manufacturing delays. I should say I undermined the stories about the chip shortages and I kept a buffer of 3 months, but I was so wrong. The lead times of some of the components were much worse. In some cases, the components come from a different distributor other than Mouser and DigiKey. So it's totally hard to estimate when it's going to get dispatched, and these distributors charge 3 to 5 times the prices. So you need to be aware of these things while designing. What's the lesson? Again, keep a buffer of the time as well as the money. There's nothing you can do here other than wait. Next one is with respect to the flight controller or the autopilot. I took a much more complicated design which also led to a lot of trial and errors. Probably I should have started with a flight controller with tried and tested method like using STM32 chip rather than going with the NXP semiconductor. Porting, testing, debugging is a lot of time consuming process which could have reduced the time to market with using an STM32 chip. But there was a very specific purpose for this decision. I hope it pays off. Maybe that's a topic for another video when we get the autopilot tested and it's all working. I'll definitely make a video on that topic. What's the lesson here? Start with something small, something tried and tested methods so that you figure out the rest of the other things and then progress from that stage. Also, the alternative components I chose and some of which I received were totally wrong or didn't work. That also caused so many delays. If you know something which works and is not available, it's better to wait than to go with an alternative which you're not sure about. If it is a small component like resistors, capacitors, inductors, then that should be okay. But if it's something like an active components like microcontrollers which you have developed your firmware for, or like a memory chip in my case, then waiting is the better option. Moving on to the next one, which is the funding. Another decision I made was to bootstrap until I'm able to get the prototypes working, and I'm still bootstrapped at this stage. But initially I started looking for investors to get the prototypes built. But I felt it's hard to convince people when you don't have anything to prove other than just an idea. As you know, ideas are worthless without execution. What I would say is financial stability is crucial. You can seek investments from friends and family or government funding from accelerators and incubators, though the application process requires some amount of time and that depends on your bandwidth. I did apply for some, but I haven't got any positive response yet. In my case, I was able to continue as a consultant, making money by leveraging my skills and providing services for the robotics industry. And that money was flowing into the R&D of Agam Robotics. Also in this case, I wanted to prioritize more on resolving design and manufacturing issues before engaging investors. In case things don't work out, I'm not liable to anyone and I just burned my own cash. But I do want to mention one thing here. I'm not like super rich to put all my money into this because I still have my education loan from my masters at NY. I'm still repaying it. I'm doing all this R&D even while having such a liability. I haven't mentioned this before and not many of them know it, but it is what it is. Alright, next one is the software licenses. Another decision I took was purchasing Altium Designer license. It was an expensive decision I had to make at the beginning of this year. I know the consequences of using pirated software and I would never encourage to do that. But at the same time, I also despise expensive softwares for startups. The same thing has happened with Fusion 360. They were free for startups, but now they have made it a paid license. It's not that expensive as compared to Altium, but again, it's only going to get worse from here. That's why I support the free and open source softwares like KiCad as an alternative to Altium and FreeCAD for mechanical CAD. And there's a huge list of softwares that I've mentioned in my previous video. If you haven't watched it, you can check that out here. Next one is working on multiple products versus working on one. This is something uncommon in SaaS or other types of startups where it is recommended to focus on one thing, one product instead of a lot of things. But with hardware, when there are like a lot of delays and waiting, we can actually get to work with multiple products and so on. This is something I've been doing for a while. Instead of waiting for the components of boards, I've worked on other products. This is a topic I want to discuss in another video in detail, so stay tuned for that. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, so that you get the notification when I release the video. Next one is about testing with the standard off-the-shelf parts first before moving on to testing with the products we have dealt with. You might have seen in my previous video about this over here. I'm glad that I have tested all the drone parts like ESCs, radio system sensors. So when I swapped the Autopilot with ours, I knew what the problem was, so it was easier to debug. Another good decision was getting a hot air rework station as against repairing it in like repair shops. A good investment and a decision, I should say. But I should see will it survive for more than a year. Alright, we are almost at the end of the last two decisions and I'm really glad that I actually made these two decisions. One was building in public and making videos of my journey on YouTube. I was really interested in making videos for a very long time, but I never did. Since June of 2023, I started making my first video as an update to my startup journey, and it has just been amazing. Thank you to all the supporters and subscribers for that. Second is joining the hardware community. I have joined a lot of other Discord servers, including Startup India, but in specific, the Hardware Mafia group has been amazing. All the people who are like actively helping out each other. There are tons of groups and communities for other startups, but very few for hardware. If you're building something in hardware, do join the community. I'll put the link in the description. Alright, that's it for this video and for this year. As always, thanks for watching. Wish you all a happy new year. We have more things coming in 2024. Stay tuned for that. See you on the other side of 2024.